G'day listeners and welcome to another episode of the Scouting Australia podcast, powered by Australian Property Scout Buyers Agency. I'm your host, Sammy Gordon, and today, guys, we are back for our monthly Q&A. I know it's been a little bit of time off from a Q&A sesh. We've had a lot of people writing in, a lot of people sending their questions, a lot of people demanding their answers. Sammy, Jimmy, where are the answers? We've sent all these questions, so we're back. I have Big Jimmy flown up from Melbourne. How are you, buddy? Welcome back to the show.
G'day, everybody. G'day, Sammy. You know I love the Q&As. I do love them, and I'm always looking for that one person. It always brightens up my day. Not going to tease you too much on who that might be, but we'll leave that till a bit later on.
Is a non back in the piece? Is a non back?
and
on the dog. And on the dog.
Well, you know, I should have just kept it under wraps, but I've got a non-Smith. He actually is trying to look after you. I think Anon's back. He's been bitten by the shark.
Okay.
So he's coming back.
He's back from hospital. Yeah. That's why we took a little bit of time off.
You know, like a little puppy dog that just rolls over on its back. He wants to scratch. Yeah. Just the submissive.
Yeah. So, what is that Anon this week?
Well, he's
taking a bit of a bite out. He's relaxed.
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
Okay.
So we've got Anon Smith.
We're just going to jump straight into it. We've got some questions. I think Jimmy's got his power list of 5 to hit us with, mate. Let's get into it.
I've got the list, folks. So keep writing in because we love your questions. This first one is from Scotty P.
Big Scotty.
Scotty, g'day. He says, boys, loving the podcast. I have bought 2 deals with APS now.
Ooh, Scotty.
And have been stoked with the results.
Big Scotty. He sounds like a stoked sort of fella.
He's Scotty
Straight
the
from the beach.
The question I have is, when I first buy it, it always values at purchase price.
The property, when he first buys. Okay.
So the question is, the first one he bought, valued 6 months post-settlement, $80,000 up.
Beautiful. Well done, Scotty.
But the second one, valued $55K higher, only 2 months after settlement.
Beautiful.
The question is, from Scotty, why didn't they value higher on purchase price in the first place?
Ooh.
Which is a good question because...
Good question, Scotty.
If you say you're buying below market value, but then you go and get them valued and they're valued at the price that we bought them, why is that?
Very, very easy answer to this. A valuer is never going to put his balls on the line above contract price.
Or it might be a female. Maybe. I mean, for all our female valuers.
Maybe they would.
For all of our female valuers out there, no offense. But
yeah, actually, be something. I was like, oh, shit.
Stumped him, got him, he's gone.
Oh, LBW, what a head. Yeah, all right. Yeah, you got me a little bit on that one. Yes. So in that case, in that scenario, the valuer will not essentially risk putting above contract price. We at APS and the amount of deals I've done over the years, would have done over 1,000 deals in my time. I would be able to count on one hand the amount of vals that we had come in above purchase price, like on purchase, the amount of the amount of valuations that actually came in above contract price. And the reason for it is that there is literally no reason for a valuer to take that sort of risk in the sense of valuing it higher, because they leave themselves at risk if anything ever did happen with that property or with the market. So there's no reason for it. When it gets post-settlement, that's where it's a different case, a different story, because it's no longer a contract price. The 2-month post-settlement is definitely a great result. We do occasionally have them. Normally you have to wait 90 plus days, but well done to Big Scotty to get a val that strong post-settlement. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell as to why it doesn't come through from that perspective. Man.
Two quick questions on that.
Yep.
What is the reason, the legal side of things, without going too detailed,
yes.
But the risk against the bank? So the valuer is worried that...
No, the risk against the valuer and the valuer, both the valuation company and the valuer himself. So it happened a lot in after the GFC. It stopped really, it's after the GFC, this changed completely. Everything with valuations, because a lot of valuer and valuation companies went under because, mortgage insurers and everything else, when people went under during the GFC, they went back and go, well, you valued it too high compared to where we actually saw the market value. You valued it too high. They redrew all that debt into essentially, the bank is at fault there, but also the valuer here as well. They've pulled it out. There's too much exposure essentially on that front. And so after GFC, a lot of things changed. There's a global financial crisis back in 2007, 2008, when all that kind of went through. That's where the valuation game changed.
Okay.
And so, you almost will never see Man, I've done deals before that you can see quite clearly there's 50, 100 grand. I mean, in COVID, when COVID was going crazy, there were some ridiculous deals out there. The value is still always valued at contract price. It's just the way it is. They don't take that risk, man or female, on that.
Even if they did value it higher, right, to get a refinance of that, when you said you at least allow 90 days, is that because the bank, once they settle on your loan, they want to allow 90 days?
It's no longer a comparable. So once it's over 90 days, they typically don't look at it as a comparable. Some valuation firms will, and some valuers will. That some valuers will need to wait 180, so they need to wait 6 months. That is the way some of them work. Most of them will take 90 days into account, and once you pass 90 days, you as long as there's been enough sales, it's no longer deemed a direct comparable because it's history. It's historic. It's too far back.
So it's good for people to realize, buy your property, don't expect on value.
Yeah. I actually get it a fair bit because they're like, oh, I thought we had, X amount in it.
Value.
Yeah, under market value. And, it's just, and I understand, especially on people on their first deals, it happens a bit where, they're not expecting, they're kind of expecting it to come in above. The issue with if it came in above, let's say you bought a property at 200, let's just for really easy numbers on this, for 270,000 and it was and it was worth 300,000. And let's say the valuer came in and valued it at 300,000. You'd be able to, if you were borrowing at 90%, you would be able to borrow the entire purchase price to 270 of that $300,000 val. Banks and valuers, they don't like that situation. There's too much risk involved for them. The only person with upside in this is you. So they will never, like that will never happen. Typically, they'll always just value at a contract price. So they can get the proper the proper LVR on purchase, and then moving forward from there, you change it.
Great. There you go, Scotty P. Well done, Sammy. Good start.
Thanks, Scotty.
Good start.
Legend.
Next question is from Lewis. Lewis is 23 from Perth.
Big Louis.
Yes. He's got 2 investment properties, combined bank value of $1.15 million.
Well done, mate.
He's got $860K worth of debt.
Okay.
So both blocks are flat, full-size blocks, 2 kilometres from the beach, 30 mins from the CBD. Good streets and pockets of the suburb, pulling $550 per week each. So he's rent vesting at the moment. His question, my goal for my 20s is to have a passive income of $70K to replace my current income.
Okay.
Is this possible to do with only 2 more purchases? ? And also, if so, are they high-yielding assets?
Okay.
He's got a 2-part question.
Yeah.
I'll let you start with that one.
So the first part of this question would really be understanding the properties themselves. Because if they're big blocks and we've got site access and they're in a good position and the rental return is good, rental return on current valuation is only around about 5%, but it depends what he purchased them for as well. He might have, historically, if we're running off purchase price, he might have a good yield on that, but we don't know. We only know the current values, right? So what I would be doing is assessing those current deals. Could we turn them into cash flow deals, or do we keep them as good, strong growth assets? Perth is going through a good run at the moment. If you looked at the next few years, when the market's probably going to peak out, do you carry them to the peak and do you sell them off? And do you use the profits to pay down 2 cash flow deals we could go and execute somewhere else? That is definitely a possibility, mate. And I think you're in a pretty good position to do it. The thing to think about is if they don't have that ability, if they don't have the ability to manufacture cash flow on those deals and we have to do it somewhere else, that's what they're in the portfolio for. If they do, and we can do that, and because we bought them at a nice, good, nice low price, do we convert those things to cash flows and go do another potentially 2 deals or maybe 3 deals as sell down strategy and pay down strategy for the 2 he already owns? So he's definitely got the ability to do it. If he's 23, I think you said.
He's 23, but
23.
He's got 2, but he's saying
if I buy 2 more,
if he only buys 2 more, is that going to be enough?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it depends. If those 2 are cash flow deals, they should be growth enough, the 2 that he's got now, to do debt reduction on those 2 that he's going to purchase, or flip the script and kind of do the other way, turn those into cash flow, buy 2 more with the intention to sell down and pay those off.
Got it. Okay.
But he's done well, mate. Well done.
23, he's done exceptionally well.
Over $1 million portfolio.
Second question from Lewis, and this is for you, Sammy. In your early years of accumulation, did you ever feel at the time your sacrifice was not worth the squeeze? Now, Lewis says, I understand that grinding now gives us security for the future, though no one dies wishing they had more money in their 20s. Keen to elaborate on your experience with this. And that's his question mark. And he's given me a little clip on the way out.
Ooh.
He says it's a bit too far back for Jimmy to recall.
Oi, Louis.
I did like you, Lewis, but I thought I'd just...
What a legend. What a legend. You want a job?
He's
a job?
He's giving a little clip on the way out. Lewis, noted. I might just write down his full name. There you go, Lewis.
That's good.
All right. So what do you think? This leads into our conversation last week.
It's very interesting. Obviously, very well received poddy last week with what we went through and everything we went in there. Very, very relative to the question that's obviously being asked now, right? Very relatable to that. Man, it's always a balancing act. So you've always got to, mate, still enjoy your life. You're 23, you're a young bloke, you live in a bloody good city. Man, still enjoy your life. But at the same time, mate, like, yes, at times when you're in the journey, it can feel like it, but that's what it's supposed to be like. Like, the journey isn't supposed to be easy. The whole journey, it's not like the whole way we run through this, I'm never going to feel any pain. I'm never going to have this or that or anything happen. With the portfolio, it is part of it. We're talking about property investing. It's bricks and mortar. It's not like, a stock in the sky that we never see or anything like that. It's something that we can manipulate and put our hands on, but that obviously can go the other way as well. So there can be some headaches that come with it as well, be it tenants or maintenance or whatever. There's all these sorts of things, that we have to take into account as well. So, mate, I 100% feel where you're coming from. You definitely feel it more. You're still very early in your journey. You feel it more when you're early because you've only got exposure to like that very early piece. And it can, when a couple of things go wrong, it feels like a lot's going wrong. As you get further along, it's almost like you start building a bit of an armor, like thicker skin. It's thicker skin. And as you go further along, you notice less and less when this stuff pops up. You just realize it is part of doing business. And it is part of property investing that, the headaches are there as well, but it's all part of the game.
And there is a law of exchange, right? So if you don't do as much now, Lewis, and you want to spend more time or money doing, holidays and traveling and all that, then understand that there's a flow-on effect. So you can't.
The realistic thing, Lewis is definitely on the path in the next. I would bet if he did what I'm thinking in my head right now, in the next 3 to 5 years, he would have his 70K per annum net passive. You don't get to 70K per annum net passive in your 20s and not have a bit of headache that comes with it as well.
Yeah.
It's part of the core. It's part of the course. It's part of it, of the journey and of property investing. But man, most people would never get to that position. A lot of people wouldn't get to that position by the time there's a lot of people that retire on a pension. It's 24 grand a year. As a couple, it's like 40 grand a year. He's literally in his 20s going to be almost double. Well, as a if we're talking about Singapore, he's going to be more than triple that of the pension.
Don't you think there's a lot more people though, when you think about that kind of question?
Yes.
A lot of people regret not investing when they were younger or not putting money into the market or doing
but
something.
he's feeling the realistic, he's in the game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that regret it.
They haven't done anything.
Yeah, haven't done anything. Like he he's feeling it, and man, you definitely feel it as you go through the journey. It's all part of it. But
it's worth it.
People looking back going, "Oh, I wish I did it." It's a different story to actually doing it and going through it all as well.
And also the balance. We spoke about this last week. Having that balance. So finding out what it is that you want to spend your time doing, but also make the sacrifices, understanding that it is worth it.
So one of the
get the result.
100%. One of the big things, Lewis, as well, mate, is like obviously look down the avenue of releasing equity. You probably shouldn't need to save as much now as what you're doing before. Perth, would have been growing very strongly for you. It will continue to grow strongly for you. Use the equity within that. So still, mate, you've done well to the point you're at now. If I was you, mate, I'd probably look to pick up those 2 deals in the next 6 months. So it's got as much time as possible to go through its growth or to execute those cash flow deals ASAP. Man, I would be looking to do those. And mate, even if you're, put aside a little bit of the kitty to go on a $5,000 trip. You got a missus or you're single or whatever, go on a little trip and go and enjoy yourself. But keep sticking on, mate. You'll thank yourself for it.
I know we've gone a lot about this with Lewis, even though he gave me a
legend.
clip.
He's
even
a
though
legend. He's a good bloke. He's a very good bloke.
But often if I do one on the discovery calls, I'll refer to you in the sense that a lot of people, if you gave them the choice to have a pretty large portfolio that was valued in the multi-million dollars, but then you said, hold on, there's a caveat because you got to carry a certain amount of $1 million worth of debt. They go, ooh, hold on. I don't know.
I want that.
I want the 10 mil.
I want the juice,
but
I don't want to squeeze.
Yeah. So there's a law of exchange. You have to be prepared to do it, right?
Yeah, of course.
All right, moving on.
Thank you, Lewis.
Well done, Lewis.
For multiple points in that. Well done.
Well,
thank you.
Well, Camille, we're moving on to Camille here.
Is she having a dig as well?
There's a few parting. I got to have a chat to our producer because I think it's a bit of a stitch up here.
Keep sending these in.
Everyone's giving me a clip on the way through,
love it.
and I'll leave the clip towards the end. But Camille has started the question with, "G'day, Bull Shark and Gandalf."
Oi! That's
really,
a compliment.
It's really starting
Gandalf's
to take off.
heaps wiser than you are.
Awesome podcast. I've listened to them to listen to them all. Great content
thank
every
you.
week. Just a couple of questions. Question number 1. Do you think you need a buyer's agent to get the best deals nowadays? Back when Sammy was starting out and getting those deals with the great relationships he made with real estate agents, there were obviously less buyer's agents around and more deals available. Is that still possible to do by yourself? Obviously, I hope you can put your bias to the side in answering. For example,
That's fair enough.
For example, Sammy, she says, if you were starting off all over again to get your first property, would you try and get a deal done yourself or go straight to a well-reputable buyer's agent?
That is a great question. It really is a great question. I can't remember who I was talking about with in the team the other day. I can't even remember if it was Morgs maybe. I was talking to someone about this the other day. You would struggle. To be dead honest, you'd struggle out there trying to buy yourself these days. She's completely right. And I was literally having this conversation a few weeks, maybe a couple of months ago or something. I can't remember when it was. Just about the fact of the amount of deals, the amount of business we do off market. It's ludicrous. Like each month, it's minimum 80%. 80 when it's really tight, sometimes up in the 90s because it's just everything on market's getting smashed. That's the biggest issue with exactly that comment. Everything on market's getting smashed. So you can't negotiate a good deal. You can't create relationships because right now stock is so tight. No one wants a bar of you. You know, like everyone's too busy. Oh, mate, I got 50 phone calls. Sorry, man, I don't have time to talk and to chat and to. You want a private inspection, mate? Is it open on the weekend? That's all I got time for. I'm sorry, man. Like. It's almost impossible these days to create the relationships if you're not buying or working in a certain amount of volume in an area, and my honest opinion on that is no. And I understand the question of like take the bias out of it. And I completely do because starting out again, I probably would try to have a crack myself because I made so little. And I literally was on $30,000 when I bought my first one and I was scraping the absolute barrel to get the first one done. And if you're in that situation and I literally had less than 30 grand saved and I bought my first one. If you're in that situation, go and have a crack yourself if you're making that little. But my honest opinion is that like, even though if I went back now and I did it again, knowing who I am, I would have tried to do it. But knowing what I know now, there are a very small amount of buyer's agents. I count them easily on one hand. I probably count them on 2, maybe 3, that are decent out there. You know what I mean? And I think that we're extremely good. The others, you've got to be wary of volume players. You know, people who are reputable. This is a big thing here, Camille. Be careful of people who are reputable. I got burnt by someone who was reputable, and I know plenty of other people have been burnt by different other buyer's agents that were supposedly reputable as well and still carry that name today. You got to be very careful who you work with in this space, especially when you're starting out. Because when you're starting out, if you're a low-income earner, you haven't got that much saved, that first deal is so important. And this is a tricky thing of like, if I was to start again, if I know what I know now, I would just get everything I could together to work with someone like myself because I know the difference that it makes buying with the right person, knowing it's not even just the deal. It's knowing everything from a strategy perspective, from lending, from structures, from all that sort of thing, buying in the right location. Get the location wrong. All right, the cost of a buyer's agent, it isn't a small amount, but you get the location wrong compared to someone putting you in the right spot or making you, 20, 25, 30 grand on the way into a deal and in the right spot.
100%.
The X return on that compared to trying to do it yourself to save that money. Something I got taught when I was very early in business and it really clicked with me. You shouldn't look at how much something costs. You look at how much something makes you.
The value.
The value. It always comes down to the value. So if something costs a certain amount, it may seem expensive, but what are you getting in exchange? And that first deal is so important. If you're starting out and it's your first deal, if there was one deal I probably would put with a buyer's agent, it would be that one. So you learn the process, you learn a bit of it, you get the first one right. They put you in the right area. If you can make a nice margin on the way in and then make a nice gain in that first 12 months, you're going to set yourself up for success. And even if you just learn the process on that first one with someone, as opposed to fuck the first one up, be set back by 3 years, buying the wrong location. Imagine you bought in the wrong location and the value went down. There are all these things to kind of, there's an opportunity cost to put into the equation.
Just further to that, on some of the discovery calls, and just to make it really clear. So for me, and full disclosure, obviously I buy properties with Australian Property Scout. I pay the fees as well.
No discounts.
When you're looking at the market, right? And this is what I say to retail investors, and hopefully this will help people. There's just under 540 councils around the country, right? So when you look at that,
suburbs,
And of those, we're targeting what? Less than 10 of those, roughly?
At the moment, we're in 13 councils.
Okay. So when you look at that, it's roughly around 0.2% in Australia.
Yes.
So when I say to someone, do you fancy your chances of picking the 0.2%? Like, that's just a valid question.
Yeah.
And if they say, well, I reckon I could get one. Okay, good. Of those 0.2%, 80 to 90% of the properties, or roughly, are bought off market.
Yeah.
So that reduces that percentage. Those odds are not in your favor.
Yeah.
And you can do anything, right? We are always a big believer. Anyone can achieve anything if you really do the time. But the risk. So,
you know the big thing that we're forgetting out of Camille's question is buyer's agent, right? The biggest issue right now with anywhere that's a decent location to invest in, unless you beat the curve, but beating the curve is a ballsy thing to do. Even I struggle with it with what I do, and the amount of times I have beaten the curve and picked markets early, but it is an extremely ballsy move to make because you're buying somewhere that hasn't started growing yet and that is very early in its cycle. I love that, but it's nerve-wracking because you don't want to put someone in the wrong area or it takes a bit longer than you anticipate to take off. But what you got to realize is that if you're targeting an area that you're confident is going to grow because maybe it's already growing, maybe it's already doing okay, and to hedge your bets on the first one, maybe you're going to do that. The big thing to realize, and going back to Camille's question, is can you do it better than a buyer's agent? And the biggest thing to note is when something goes to market in an area that is heated up, it has been passed on. I guarantee you every property hits the market has been passed on off market. Because when an area heats up, there's so many buyers agents these days, they flock to an area and they flood to an area when it does 20%, 30% in a year, they're all there to try and then catch the next wave of it, right?
Yeah.
So then all the agents in the area get saturated with all these buyers agents. And man, they've all got their little avenues of ones. And we love working with our guys that we know we can get great deals with and work closely with and all the rest of it. But the really key thing is like, there are a lot of people, and even us with the agents we work with, they have buyers agents they don't like as much. That if we pass on a deal, they'll send it to them, and they normally will buy things a lot more than what we'll pay for a deal. They might pay market value, and so you got to realize if we've passed on it, and then they've passed on it, and then they might have another one that might pass us on it. How many hands does it pass through? How dirty is this thing before it gets to you?
Yeah,
you know,
so it's not a deal.
So it's deal. Yeah, and that's a big thing to realize. A lot of people think they can still do it these days, and I do feel a little sorry. The game has changed. Like literally, I was talking about whoever it was the other day. The game has changed in the sense of going out and buying deals yourself in this current market. Stock is too tight. There's just not enough. It's not like it was back in the day where it was quite loose and I could, the offers I used to make back in the day, I offer them these days. People tell me to fuck off. Or they just laugh at me. Yeah, good luck with that one, mate. No worries. When you go call someone else, like you can't get them. Like the situation back, it was a very different situation. We've been in going on 4 years now of continually tightening stock, and it's not getting easier in the right areas. You got to realize the areas that there is more stock. They're areas that are either come off the boil or coming off the boil. You don't want to buy there because prices are coming back.
And if you're listening to this and thinking, you're just peddling the buyer's agency business, trying to wind up the bull shark.
I said, I don't care. Like for young people starting or anyone starting out, they don't actually have the cash and they want to have a crack. Like I have no issues because I did it myself, but I'm just talking from dead experience. I don't need every client in the world, right? I'm talking from dead experience. If people want to go out there and have a crack, have a crack. But the reality is you're not going to buy as well as what we do. You might buy in the wrong market. It's an opportunity cost. I would almost, like I said before, I'd almost say if you were ever going to use a BA, use it early to understand the process, to learn it, get a few wins. So even if you stuffed one up yourself, you've still got something else winning and growing in the background as well.
Also, going back to your first point about the value, when you look at cost and someone says, oh, gee, that's expensive. The better question to that is, well, expensive compared to what? Because
if you're comparing us to old bloody,
yeah, but if you're buying in the wrong market, right? And let's just say that market's flat or goes back or doesn't do as well over a year or two, and you've missed out on $100,000 plus.
Yeah.
Has that been a more costly exercise in what you've missed out on compared to the fee you've paid to get into the deal?
It's a crazy thing. The amount of clients I've been chatting to in the last, few weeks, few months that have bought 12 months ago, and they bought. And even like some guys have bought a year before that, and they bought in areas that they didn't really want to buy into. And I almost talked them into buying into areas because I was so confident, but they were so not confident in doing it. Most of these guys are up around about 100,000 a year, 80 to 100 grand a year in growth. Like it's not just in the COVID times. COVID wrapped up nearly 2 years ago now. We're talking the 2 years since that. That's how much we make on average per deal. Imagine you miss that and you get that wrong and you sit there stale in a market, or you time a market wrong that you think is going to have a run, but you buy in there 3 years too early and you miss another market that doubles in that 3 years. You know what I mean? Like the opportunity cost of getting it wrong. And that's why I say if there was a time to do it, if you had the cash there to do it, I'd be doing it. I would be engaging a BA at least for your first deal or two to get the feel for understanding.
Get the foundations done right.
100%.
Yeah.
The only caveat on it is if you were super low on funds, you're just trying to get. Let's say you had to get into your first deal. You had 20, 25 grand, and you just want to. Or I'm going to go buy 150K unit, put 5 grand into it, try and do this and get it up. Mate, have a crack, do it yourself. If that's really your position, then do that. But otherwise, you start creeping up. That's where it's okay. You're going to be competing with some good players.
Now, Camille had a really good question to start off with. And the second one is just taking a bit of a right-hand turn.
Okay.
And she said...
off the freeway.
The next question. Gentlemen, what is your favourite gym exercise? Sam.
This is Camille.
Looks like he loves a good bench press.
I do love a good bench.
Couldn't really tell.
I've loved this since I was about 14 years old.
And wait for it. And Jimmy looks like a calf raise kind of guy.
That doesn't say too much for the rest of you.
Is that?
You're the fucking smallest calf I've seen. Oh,
I'm not really sure how to take that. Is that? Has she seen my calves? Is that what it is? Or is she thinking if there's nothing up top, it must be calves?
Either that or she's seen the calves and up top and thought the only thing I can compliment is the calves.
Oh, Camille.
Gandalf's good with a spell, not too good on in the gym.
She's really... Jeez,
she's on fire
today.
She's on fire.
We're getting a bit of a...
I'm loving this. First Lewis, now Camille. I love these guys.
Jeez, what's wrong? What's wrong with these people?
All right, mate, let's go.
Let's keep going.
This is number 4, yeah?
We've got 2 more to go, folks.
Okay.
We've got 2 more to go. This one is actually from Reese. Now, Reese has got a question. I have about 12 weeks built up in my long service leave.
Okay.
I have the option of letting it build, letting it build up towards possibly a long holiday in the future, or getting it paid out in a lump sum, which would equate to around $26,000 before tax.
26?
It's pretty good, which would bring me extremely close with the current savings to buy my second investment.
Well done, Reese.
So the question is, do you guys think taking the money now while I'm in the acquisition stage of my portfolio is beneficial over leaving it in my long service leave as a safety net or holiday savings? He wants to go to Thailand.
That's a lot of rubs. There's a lot of rub downs.
Well, a bit of a massage. Yeah, everyone deserves a little shoulder massage.
That's good.
The question, Sammy, I don't know, you got that little smirk on your face because I think
I'm smiling.
He's
I'm not
winding
smirking.
up. He's got a little
smiling. I'm not smirking.
No, he's smirking.
I think
he's about to get a big run up here.
I think Reese here.
He's going to breach the water. Look out. Go on.
I think he is just looking for some validation.
To go to Thailand.
He needs a couple extra rub downs. He needs to pull it out. You know what I mean? Like if that's
whoa,
what he needs.
Whoa.
Shut up. Take your mind out of the gutter, you dirty dog.
Okay, back
in all honesty, if he's almost got enough to buy a second property and he pulls that out and it's enough to buy a second property, mate, you've answered the question yourself. You know exactly what we're going to say. We're not going to say, yeah, go take the holiday. Yeah, go leave it in the bank. Like there's conservative ways of doing things and like you're almost there for that second deal. Mate, pull it out, bloody go do your thing and pick up your second deal. Because what you got to remember, mate, you think about it. Let's say you pull that out, you put into second deal and then, you make 20 grand on the way into your first deal and the first 12 months, let's say you buy a 400 grand deal, first 12 months, it goes up by 10%. There's another 40. You just made 60,000 in your first 12 months. Mate, you're going to go on a better holiday with that. You know what I mean? But like, obviously that's not the name of the game, but it's that's going to keep compounding and building because you're going to pull that out and be able to keep building the portfolio as well. So, yeah, man, I think the question answers itself in the sense of do what you know is the right thing to do here. Pull this thing out, keep building and keep doing the right thing for your portfolio.
All right. So say it was the holiday. He's parked the holiday idea. You've shot that down. There goes bloody Bali and massages in Thailand, but that's fine. What about the safety net? He said, what about a little buffer? Not the other. Yeah. So what about that?
You can always keep. Every investor should always keep a buffer. There's no doubt about that. I would have presumed he would have had. If he already has an investment, he should have a buffer in place for that. The rule of thumb I worked off as an absolute dead minimum, and this is when I first started. And when I first started, interest rates were higher than where they are right now. So people shouldn't really be gloating on with that. Was $5,000 a property until they hit 4. So 5 for 1, 10 for 2, blah blah blah. up to 20 grand for 4. Then when I hit 4, I just sat on 20 for a while as I went over that. It's a pretty healthy buffer, but everyone is different. So if you're a lower income earner, you might want to keep a higher buffer just in case of the interest rates and anything popping up with maintenance. If you're a higher income earner, you might want to keep yourself a nice big fat one. But
do you think it's psychology? Because I've spoken to some people that they want to keep a buffer of 100 grand or 70 grand, and they don't have multiple properties.
I think that's ludicrous. Yeah, I think that's ludicrous. Like $100,000 buffer. To me, anything over 20 grand, especially if they're early in their portfolio, to me, it's overkill. 20 grand's pretty healthy. Like even if you started going over like 4, 5, 6 properties and you had 50, like 50 is a huge buffer. It is a huge. I mean, it depends on the cash flow position of your portfolio. If you're going out there and buying blue chip and following some idiot's advice around buying blue chip near the beach and let's go buy for $1 million and it rents for 300 a week and I'm a wanker with a shit haircut. If you're buying that sort of stuff, then maybe you need 100 grand per property buffer because it's a shit deal. But if you're buying the decent stuff that takes care of itself, then you should be sweet. Or close enough to take care of it. Have a relative buffer, relative to what you're trying to do. And then, man, take care of it.
All right. Reese had a little clip against him. He's had a little bite, just a nibble. You've had a sniff.
Me?
You put him on the right track.
I wasn't biting Reese. I was biting someone else with a shit haircut.
Who's that?
I know, someone loves blue chip. Blue dick.
Oh, well, this actually segues perfectly to my next question.
Let's go.
And folks, you've wanted it, you've asked for it, and he's back. Anonymous Smith.
Anon.
Lives again. Back again with a vengeance.
I thought he was dead.
He says, back again with a vengeance.
He didn't say that.
He did.
He wrote that.
He did.
Show me.
Well, we are assuming it's a male. We're assuming it's a man, but we don't know.
Why?
No, we're just assuming.
Could be a woman.
Could be. Sammy.
Yes.
Anon here. he's like your pen pal. He's like, Anon here. I am curious as to your thoughts around a lot of other BAs seeming to be regurgitating a lot of the info I see you put out. Then a few weeks later, this BA is talking about manufacturing equity or cash flow. Someone else about house and lands, SMS.
That's the same blue chip dickhead. That's what he was doing. Yeah, go on.
It seems to run in a funny pattern of a few weeks after one of your podcasts. More coincidence, do you think? Or some average operators trying to follow your formula? I thought he was being quite polite there.
Thank you, Anon. Yes. Thank you, Anon.
But while he's very important, he's written here, before Sammy answers, P.S., I was imagining you reading this and the Jaws anthem.
That's how I was feeling.
A bit of burley for Jimmy to play with. Cheers, boys. On. You've definitely raised your game.
Anon.
Yeah,
he's definitely trying to get a bite, but at the same time, he's doing it in a positive way for us.
Because he's been bitten a few times. He's only got 2 legs. They've both gone.
He's just sitting there.
So he's curious. Have you noticed that? So what he's saying is that you're putting out some content on the podcast. You're giving a few nuggets and a few gems, and then all of a sudden, everyone's spruiking.
We've definitely been seeing a few of the same sort of things. Like a few weeks after a poddy will drop, then someone else is doing a video or whatever, kind of saying a very similar thing. It's funny to see some people's version of like a manufactured cash flow deal as well, and it's just like there's no manufacturing. It's established. It's got a 5% yield. It's a shit deal. Like you see a few of these things coming through and being touted and all the rest of the sort of thing. I think the funny thing is you can really tell when someone knows what they're talking about, when they're kind of stuttering around and not really knowing what they're doing, what they're talking about. But yeah, man, Anon, like he's just trying to get me to bite here. But yes, I have noticed that some people have been regurgitating the same stuff that comes out of our mouths.
So people out there, if you're listening, you can't see the video, but it's like a shark circling the carcass because he doesn't want to bite it yet. He's just having a bit of a look. He's having a bit of a sniff.
What does he want me to say?
But we're building up some momentum here. The fin is slowly starting to build some momentum. But basically, he's trying to say, have you? What's happening out there? Are you feeling threatened by some of these
definitely not
upstarts that are trying to take away some of your equity or cash flow, or maybe they're a new and improved?
Maybe
they're the new type of shark.
Yeah.
You might
be
a bit old.
40 models since you. They're still fucking minging.
No, but in saying that, just on this point and getting all serious, right? Everyone, when you speak to anyone in the industry, or if you're talking to another buyer's agent, or if you're listening to some of their content, like I think the content that your strategy, especially because it is your strategy, it is very clear to understand, right? So if you're having a conversation with someone and it seems convoluted and it doesn't really make sense, it's a bit of fugazi, you got to ask yourself, why are they making it complex, right?
The easiest thing I always look at is how big a portfolio did someone build before they started a buyer's agency? These people that are talking about this, right? Like majority of people who have started it or who are spooked themselves as being amazing or the rest of the stuff, they built the portfolio after they became a buyer's agent. You know, even a lot of people out there that are selling courses that supposedly know what they're doing. How many properties do they have before they started the course? A lot of people, buyer's agents and these course providers, had 1 or 2 properties max before they started the buyer's agency, right? And then they're trying to advise people and saying, mate, it drives me nuts. Yeah, if they haven't built it the hard way, like most Australians are doing it out there, you know, working a job, making an average Australian income and then building the portfolio like that, they shouldn't be giving advice on how to build a portfolio the way that the average Australian's trying to build it, because they didn't build it the way an average Australian's built it. So, mate, I'm happy to wrap it up after that, because I'm just going to get fired up if I keep talking about this, because it's a load of shit. Nothing drives me more crazy than hearing people that I know haven't done it themselves, you know, have done it from a big income or from, you know, whatever's happened from here or there or whatever, you know, trying to advise people that are on the average Australian income on how to build a portfolio and what they should be buying. What's that? Millionaires and billionaires buy blue chip. They don't buy fibro shacks. Okay, sweet. So what are they doing? Are they going and buying $2 million houses, someone on $100,000 a year and going under in the first year? Like, it's just stupidity. Like, build a portfolio that actually can be built ongoingly moving forward. You don't buy things that hamstring yourself and coming up with these different things. You know, and it's not just one person. It's a lot of different people that are kind of saying all these different things. But you want to be working with someone that has done what you're trying to do, not someone that's built the portfolio and talks a lot of shit after the fact. Simple as that. Let's leave it at that.
Oof. Producer, did you get a bit of momentum there? You saw a little bit. There was definitely a breach of the water there. I think that's quite telling. And for the people out there, if you are, you know, exploring your options and you're chatting to different people and you're looking at a buyer's agent, I say to people all the time, ask them 2 questions. Tell me about your portfolio and be specific. Don't give me a
100%.
roundabout. And then tell me, how did you build it out and when did you build it out? And you can't lie about that sort of stuff. You can sort of
There's very few people that have genuinely built it out before doing something like this. Like very, very few. It'd be less than, you could count on one hand. Easily less than. Even people who like have a large number of properties, most of them built it while they were, you know, doing this. So, yeah, man, it's just something you got to be very. If you're going to take advice from someone around to this sort of stuff, you want to be taking it from someone that has literally done it before, from the position that you're in. You know, not some I'm on the top of the castle, I'm just going to spout bullshit beneath me.
So, just before we wrap this up, what you're saying is blue chip properties.
Listeners, thank you once again for tuning in. I've thrown my glass at Jimmy. He's missing an eye. He's going to be back on an eye patch next week.
I think Anon and I are going to become mates.
It's funny because I thought Anon went in easy, and then like he's very smart, because then it just turned into I started ticking over my head. I was like, yeah, all right, there we go.
He's manipulating you.
What a bust.
He is.
From the other side of a message.
He likes to wind you up almost as much as I do.
What does he send it in? What does he send his questions in?
On MySpace.
MySpace?
He's old school.
So he's sending it direct to you. Are you and him each other's only friends on MySpace?
I think he actually emails in from Anonymous Smith.
What a dog.
So there you go, Sammy.
Beautiful.
That's the Fast Five today. Thank you, listeners, for writing in.
Thank you, mate. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in once again. I hope you enjoyed the Q&A for this month as well. I think it's Q&A number 8, I think, today. So, guys, if you enjoyed it, please make sure you're sending in your own questions. Any burning questions you got to run through, please make sure you send them in. I hope you're enjoying the poddy. I hope you're enjoying the content. If you are, please make sure you leave us that 5-star review. We massively appreciate it. It helps get the message out there, and it helps it on the rating side. It pushes to more people with the similarities of what they're looking to do and whatnot as well. So we want to build more of a community of people that are thinking, speaking, and talking exactly the same way around all this sort of stuff. So we keep building that community. And then, yeah, guys, if there's anyone else that you know that might take some value out of this, out of any of the questions that maybe got asked, maybe there's someone that's tossing up between using the BA or going themselves, or calling Jimmy Gandalf or whatever, you know, some people.
Long service leave.
Yeah, all these different things. Yeah, anyone.
Or blue chip properties.
Yeah, fuck those guys. make sure you send it on. And yeah, we really appreciate it, guys. But until next week, thank you for tuning in once again to the Scouting Australia podcast.